If you have set out to write a novel, you will have experienced how much work it really is to complete just the first draft. Or maybe you're just thinking about writing and are doing some research on this subject. No matter your reason for watching, I will here, as part of a whole new video series on writing, share my top 5 tips on writing a first draft. All derived from my own personal experiences, so there is a certain bias in place here, of course, but I've read some other people's experiences online and it looks like my tips seems to be very valid. The first thing I want to cover is something very important. I promise you that if you realize this one from the beginning, it's going to help you tremendously. It did for me. It's really a simple mindset tip, but when writing a first draft, you need to understand that it requires a massive investment in time and effort from yourself. Please do not think anything less, and don't take up the task of writing a draft half-heartedly. I'm in preparation for my second novel at this time, and I do expect it to go a bit faster, at least that's also what I understand from others. But understanding what you are embarking on is important, so do yourself the favor to give yourself the right expectations right off the bat. Okay, next tip is around pantser or outliner. So let me just explain these definitions a bit before we move on. The pantser is the type of author who has no idea where the story is going or what the ending will be. He or she writes by the seat of their pants and figure it out as they go along. The outliner is an author who has everything planned out in advance and knows exactly what needs to happen in every single chapter and what the ending will be. Now, as with all things in life, it's not completely either or, and some authors lie in between these two other points, or I guess most do, but you get the idea. My tip here is that no matter which category you fall into, figure out what the story you want to tell is. When you know, even if it's only roughly, what you want to say, chances are much higher that your story will actually communicate it. I personally suffered greatly on this one myself, and in writing my first draft I had to start over several times before I kind of understood it. It is a first draft, yes, I know, and nothing is written in stone, but I found that knowing your story allows you to focus on telling it. The third tip is about understanding that this is a first draft. The first draft is the skeleton for your final novel and where you get to know your characters better. I found that I write very clean first draft from a story perspective, but for most authors, the result is rarely ready for publication. Even for the experienced writers among us. Stephen King, for example, calls the first draft the closed door draft, as in the first draft of a book is for the writer's eyes only. Well, you can of course share it with other writers or trusted readers, but writing terrible first draft is completely normal for a fact. Every time you think how awful your first draft is, remind yourself of that. Will you? Please. And then let go of the perfectionism and just write. It's okay. You will edit it better later. I was also a victim of this one myself. I started to compare my first draft material with published fiction, and in comparison it seemed, well, lacking at best. Do not compare first draft with polished end results. It's not fair to yourself. Enough about that then. Let's move on to tip number 4. This one kind of links to the first tip I shared, the one about knowing that it takes time to write a draft. The way to get past this one is by setting a deadline for yourself. When are you going to be done with this first draft? Try to work out how many words is realistic for you to produce on a daily basis. Yes, daily. You're going to write your target words every day, every single day. The average novel is 80,000 words, and in fantasy, like I write, it's usually above 100,000 words. So if you think of that as your target, you're basically going to freak yourself out. Now, 1,000 words a day, on the other hand, yes, that sounds more realistic and achievable, don't you think? During your writing time, you cut out all attention grabbers, like email, internet, Twitter. I mean it. Out it goes, and you will reach your target, one word at a time, and then you celebrate before you start the next draft. What about the 5th tip then? Well, this one is about excuses. We as human beings are masters in cooking up excuses for ourselves in order to postpone hard work. And writing is hard work, I can promise you. But just get to it. When you write your first draft, write hot and fast and push to the end, and then hold off on revising too much along the way. At about 25,000 words in, I usually take a step back and reassure myself that everything is heading in the direction I want it to. And then back to it. And there you have it. It's 5 rather simple tips, but I think they are more than just relevant. They are essential. I think all experienced writers will agree with what I've said in this video. But I'll be very happy to hear thoughts. And of course also thoughts from inexperienced writers, of course. Was this any help to you? Leave your comments below, and remember to subscribe to my channel. There is a box for it right here on the screen. And also, if you're interested in supporting me, please head over and check Patreon. There is a link for that one as well in the description below. Thank you so much for watching.